What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Common Sense, the podcast. Looking forward to sitting down with you guys tonight. And this show is going to be fun. I've been looking forward to this show for a while. I think I've asked you for at least 2 years to come on here. And it's been like, he thinks it's like going to the dentist or something. He's blown me off for like 2 years, but we finally got him here. So you guys that want the multifamily stuff, I can't think of a better way to do this. And you guys that really want to know what it is that I do, how we do it, our thoughts behind sales and everything else, then none other than Andy Cordina. What's up, man?
Hello, Garrett. Good to see you. And it's been difficult to say no to you for all of these years, but I've perfected the art.
You have. I feel sorry for your wife.
Most people do.
Yeah.
But it's good to be here.
Yeah, man.
Glad we're able to coordinate.
So for those of you that don't know who Andy is, I want you to give everybody like the little 2-minute version, but I'm going to tell you right now, like, Andy is someone who I've always looked up to in our industry. Andy's always been a competitor of mine, and, you know, I have the utmost respect for him and what he's done in his various roles and the roles that I've known you throughout the years that I've known you. When I first met him, he was like the guy I was really going after's like boss. And like, that's our good buddy Tim Gibbs over at FTK. And I wanted nothing more to kick his ass. And I kind of found out his superpower was you. And I'm like, he's got this mentor that's like coaching him up and he's just like killing it. And I'm like, I gotta know what this is about. So that was really the whole intro to like me wanting to know who the hell you were when I first got into multifamily.
Well, you know, it was a good tie-in with Tim. So Tim and I have known each other since we were in school, not grade school, but I think junior high or early high school. It was just by luck that I came to work with Tim over at FTK, and it was funny because they came to me and said, you know, are you going to be okay having Tim report to you? And I said, well, I think the real question is Tim going to be okay having to work with me? Yeah, more than anything.
How's Tim feel about this?
So that was really good because it was a good opportunity as Tim was growing from being heavy project management focused over into really being, you know, high producing salesperson, and we really fed off each other a lot, which was fun. And that was, like you said, when you and I kind of got together and sort of met each other, and we became frenemies at that point in time. And, and that worked out really well, though, because I thought that's a good relationship, right? Your competition keeps you stronger, keeps you sharp. It's very important to have people that are always nipping at your heels, people that do stuff better than you that you can learn from. And that's, you know, all that's good, man.
That's always been the way I've looked at it with you, especially you and Tim. I mean, I can't say that across the board, but I mean, you guys have seen, I have no fear of bringing my competitors on here, or, you know, like the people that I sit down with. I mean, like, we do this normally. Like, I mean, I'm sure everybody expects us to be these like mortal enemies, and we're not. Like, we hang out outside of work, we socialize, we talk shop, we can relate to each other. And honestly, like, I want to pick up on anything that I think you're doing better than I am. And I'm sure it's vice versa. Like,
so you guys aren't like the newscasters on like Ron Burgundy and them, like on Anchorman?
Yeah, no.
Well, I mean,
don't meet in the middle of the park.
Maybe with some of our competitors we would be, but maybe not with me and him.
Okay, I was just making sure y'all didn't like get off work and meet at a construction site with weapons.
Right. I did not kill
claim your company
today
and chop a head off. Nothing like.
We had a duel before today started. No, but it's fun to be able to do that, though. Like, I mean, when you have other people in your field that you respect, and it's like, okay, because, you know, I did a post on this like a week or so ago, or I think it was last week, where, you know, like, what is the one thing you're doing better than your competition that they're not doing yet? I mean, like, that's a question I ask myself all the time. I'm like, it's not, because it's not always price, it's not always the relationship, but those things play a big part.
Sure.
But you got to figure out where you fit into all that. So before we just dive head into this, give everybody a little bit of a background about you. Where are you from? Tell them a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm from right over here in Richardson, Texas. I'm not from here. I'm from South Carolina, but I was raised here. I'm a Berkner High School grad, so go Rams. Went to UNT, met my wife at UNT. She was there as well. We just celebrated 31 years being married.
Awesome, man. Congrats.
Yeah, thanks. That's a lot of years, you know.
Yeah.
We got 2 adult kids. One is at UNT, so that's cool for us. It gives us an opportunity to go back up to UNT, go to the football games, be active kind of around the campus that we were raised at, you know, as adults. So that was kind of fun. Our daughter went to Arkansas, and so we really kind of all have been around here for a long time. My wife grew up in Saudi Arabia. Her dad was in the oil business. She's got some really fascinating stories about growing up overseas.
How am I just now learning this? Like my wife is half Jordanian. Like, I don't think we've ever actually had this conversation.
Well, we may not have ever, but she's not Jordanian or Saudi. She's born in Dallas, and her dad was in the oil patch, and so they grew up in Saudi Arabia. So she's got fascinating stories. I'm sure your wife her would probably be able to connect over all of that kind of stuff.
Her maiden name doesn't have to be Ewing, does it?
It is not Ewing, but that would be nice. As an anecdotal side story, though, my dad and my mom live in Parker, right where South Fork is. And my dad was the mayor of Parker for a number of years.
Are you serious?
They live a couple of minutes away from.
That was one of my first missions when I moved here, was to go see South Fork, and I was so disappointed.
God, it's not much to see.
I was like, this it?
That's it?
That made it seem so much doper on TV when I was 8.
When we moved here in 96, I will never forget this. Like, there was no easy way to get there from Carrollton. Like, I remember when my dad and my mom and my aunt and my cousins came down, and we had to go see South Fork. And that felt like we were driving to Waxahachie. I mean, like, it seemed so far away.
It's
and
a
then
wedding
you get there, and I'm like,
that's why
this is what you drug us all the way out here for, to see this?
Yeah.
Well, when we were kids in Richardson, my dad and I would cycle. We were cyclists at the time, and we would cycle over there. So it was close enough from our house to where we could ride a bike to it from where we lived over Richardson.
Just pull up next to anybody and say, hey, excuse me, who shot JR? Anybody? Okay. Anyway, back to the story.
But it was interesting with them ultimately living out there because everybody knows where that is, right? It's such a recognizable thing. And it was cool for my dad to be involved in, you know, in the city politics there and things like that. So as far as like what led me to end up meeting you and all that, I have a friend of mine, Mike, who worked for RealPage. And I ended up working for RealPage starting back in 2009, and that's what got me into multifamily. And as you and I both know, once they got us, they never let us go.
Yeah, you're always going to do something in there. Mike who?
Mike Davis.
Mike Davis. Gotcha.
So Mike had worked for RealPage for a long time and had a healthy career. His mother, Donna, ran the AAGD for a long time, like 30 years, I believe. So,
oh, wow.
So Donna was my second mom in college, and so I was always tangential to the multifamily industry just because of Mike's mom and his stepfather started Compliance Depot.
Okay.
So their family was very much around our industry, and so kind of grew up knowing it without ever working in it, but Mike was always in it. And he got me into it in 2009, and we got a couple of our other friends into it as well. And like I said, you just never leave.
What'd you go to school for?
My degree is marketing. So I started, working at RealPage as a salesperson.
Yeah.
And, just kind of made my way through the industry into some leadership roles that I've been doing over the last few years.
Yeah. So how'd you end up in construction sales?
Well, the owners of one of the owners of FTK was a neighbor of ours. Out in Lucas, where we raised our kids, and he called me one day and said, "Hey, I know you know the industry, and I know you know how to run sales, and we could use some help with that. Would you like to come over here and help us build a sales organization?" And so, at the time, I had left the multifamily industry, and I'd gotten out. I thought I had gotten out, and I had not gotten out. The job I took was one of these real high pressure, enterprise level software jobs that has these, these OTEs that are a gazillion dollars. And they say you're not doing your job well unless you leave on Sunday night and don't come home till Friday night. And when I was given the opportunity to go to work at FTK, 10 minutes from the house, building a sales organization, helping them grow, that was a great way. It was a good way to get back into it.
That's cool, man. And, it's funny because all of us in our circle of people in our exact field, a lot of us talk, we hang out. Like I said, we're social, we're friends, not even frenemies. Like, we all network and talk and work together. I mean, I think a lot of people back in the day would have been shocked to know, like, you won't be, but Tim and I, like if Tim got a client that he could only use in this aspect, he would reach out to me and be like, hey man, like, I know you're not going to poach this work from my guy, like, but I don't want to refer him because, like, I can't do this type of work currently. Like, so if you're willing to do that and just be cool with handling this stuff with him, dude, I'd really like to refer him to you because I don't want it getting to the other ones that we don't really care for as much or that we don't respect as much. Like, I want him to be taken care of. I want him to be just as happy with you handling this stuff as he is with me handling this other stuff. And I'm like, cool, man, you got it. Like, no problem. Like, I'm totally down with that. And we've tried to do that with each other and reciprocate over the years. And
it's worked.
And it's worked. I mean, it's worked really well for us. Like,
you remember the Japanese guys?
The which one?
The Japanese guys.
Yes.
You remember them?
Yes. And you know who swooped in and stole that job from me?
Preston.
Boom! Nailed it.
Is
Didn't
Preston watching this?
Yeah, I hope so. Preston, that's for you. Nah, I like Preston too. But, it's one of those things. It was like, okay, here, man, like, I can't handle this. Jump in. And, like, that deal was a bad deal. Like, that was they were buying some really old,
it was
crap property over by Collin County College, I believe, if I remember correctly. It was kind of in between Richardson and like that. It's like
kind of like in that no man's land,
635 and by the
and Aldelia.
Yeah,
and
like over in
that
that mess. And it was like these properties were, I mean, the property had a lot of potential, but it had like these weird garden skylights and stuff over these like semi-enclosed like patios and stuff. Like, it was really weird, but like it had not been taken care of in a long time, and it was really ran down. And like I knew like they kind of just wanted to band-aid it through phase one, and I was like, there's no way. Like, everything that I touch, as soon as I open this wall,
it's gonna fall.
Every wall is a can of worms, like on every building. And I'm just like, hey man, I don't think you have what you really need here to do this. And he's like, no, like Tim told me, like, you're the guy I need to go with. Like, he's like, but these other guys, Preston Sams, gave me this bid. He's like, can you at least match this? I was like,
no,
I'll match it, but I'm matching that scope verbatim. And you need to have a reserve of X, or you're going to be in a bad position. Like, right. I can't walk into this deal with you knowing that when you were just referred to me from a good friend of mine, and I have an expectation and a standard that we try to live up to. Like, I can't do it. And he was like, fair enough, I'll call you on the next deal. And I was like, all right, cool. So not all of them have always worked out, but I don't think that like many people in the GC space can say that they have that kind of relationship with other GCs. Because, I mean, I have that with several of you guys. Like, and I try to make sure, because to me, it's not really competition. I'm doing my thing, and you're doing your thing, and there's so much work. I mean, like, it's kind of hard to say this year.
Maybe not this year.
Maybe not this year, but in general, there's enough work for all of us, and it's going to come down to your relationships more than not than otherwise, and you're going to be doing a lot of stuff. So,
well, I think that at the end of the day, when we all look at that big pile of whatever could be, you know, having relationships with people in this business, whether they're friendly competition or friends that work for a competition or truly competitors. If you get back to what we said before, competition makes us all better at what we do. And at the end of the day, the customer ends up being the winner in all that, right? If we're paying better attention to them collectively or giving them a better work product or whatever, that's good. It's good for your financial future. You grow those relationships. And
absolutely.
As, you know, as we all know in the sales game, it's much easier to keep a client happy than it is to go get a new one. So,
oh man,
much rather do that.
Lying. Yeah, it's a lot harder to go out and work an entirely new relationship.
It is. It just takes time. And if you've been working with an individual for 5 years and you've performed time and time again for someone, well, then I come along and they go, well, hey man, you're a pretty good guy, and I see what your company does, whatever that is, and I could use some of that too. Then, you know, I've got to find an opportunity that doesn't necessarily fit what your relationship with them really normally leads them to.
Yeah.
Because you're good at certain things and I'll be good at other things. And the customer ultimately needs more than one of us to really get all their things done. So,
and I think that's funny because
it's okay for us to think about that.
Yeah, no. And I mean, it should be. And that's where I think that, so I don't think we've actually said this yet in the introduction and all this. So you work for Matrix currently.
That's correct.
Correct. You are the vice president of sales and marketing at Matrix.
That's right.
So as you guys have heard me say before, and I haven't done a show with him yet, but we are going to do one. Jason Kelly over at Matrix is a close friend of mine and a very good dude. Like, I was a little jealous when you called me and told me you went to Matrix. I'm not even going to lie, because I was like, shit, how can we make this work? Like, I would love to have Andy in here and like just, I mean, I don't give a shit if I have to, he's my boss. Like that, as a partner even, like I don't care. Like I want to learn. I want to know more about that. Like that's to me like one of the best, and I'm not just saying it's because you're sitting here. Like, I think it's one of the best moves they've made in a long time. Like I have utmost respect for Chip and Jason. I think they've done a phenomenal thing what they do. And it's funny because I got a little bit of like feedback. We'll call it feedback on something I did at an event where they're like, "Well, you're just like, this is weird that you're like helping promote or talking about or hanging out with your competition." I'm like, I don't look at it that way. Like, I mean, I get it that you see it that way, but I don't look at it that way. Like,
you were giving constructive feedback.
I was giving constructive feedback, and I was like, okay, like that's cool and all, but like I really like these dudes, like, and I think they're good people. And like, to be completely honest, I was like, I'll use Matrix as an example in this because I think it's a good example. And I'm pretty sure you and I've gone back and forth about this a little bit when you were talking to me about it, but I think there are set things that you guys do better than pretty much anybody else in our market, and that is your really good lane. You guys started out doing that stuff, and that's stuff that quite honestly at Element we don't want to do. Like that's just, we think there are other people such as yourself that do it better. You have it figured out. You have a pulse on it, and you've got it. You've come into the market with that, and that's what your lane is. Yeah. Now, granted, that has changed over the last, 10, 12 years, where you guys basically went from doing just that to a full-blown GC. And, I think that's where I'm able to still, like, kind of win out on certain things in certain areas, and same as, other people. Same would be said for FTK. FTK went after, I always butcher that word. It starts with an L. Litech. They decided they were going all in on Litech for a while there, and they pretty much told all their clients, like, we're doing Litech, and we're not doing this. And, like, I think that went well for them for a while, but I think it also hurt them drastically because it took them completely out of the market they were in. They went all in on the other market and then realized, like, they needed a balance, that all one or nothing wasn't the answer for them. Never that is. There was a balance there, and I think that's kind of what I see you doing for Matrix. So, I mean, I think that's going to be super good fit for you over there with Chip and Jason. And I mean, like, man, I'm happy for you.
Well, I appreciate that. I'm, looking forward to it. It's an interesting time to enter into the market again on the GC side. This is not, as you know, the best times. This is not the best of time. What was the book? The Best of Times.
It was the best.
What was it?
It was
the worst of times. What was that?
I have no clue.
Well, if I was a literary person, I would know. I do not. But
I'm sure our wives will chime in.
I'm sure they're sending
sending
us texts right now going, how do you guys not know this? The market's challenging, right? It's challenging for everybody. We just had a competitor shut down their doors.
Yeah, and I think where it's not as frightening for you is you're from the industry. This isn't your first go round. Where I see, and I'm like, holy shit, there's a lot of our mutual friends that have been vendors for us, reps of them, and high up the chain. And a lot of them are changing, and they're coming into our world now. And I've had conversations with several of them like, are you crazy? Like, what are you doing? Like, do you realize, like, this, to really, really be successful at this, like, the step back you're going to have to take. Like, you were with a certain company for 20, 25 years. You know that really, really well. And yeah, you have these relationships, but like, I would not want the pressure of learning a new business to me in a certain regard and just saying, hey, I have these connections and these relationships, like, go open the door for us. I mean, that's not as bad as being just thrown to the wolves and be like, hey, you got to learn all this as well. That's where, like, there was a couple guys that were paint reps at a paint vendor that I used to use. And this was 2-3 years ago. I won't say their names, but like, they came to me and they're like, I want to do what you do. I'm like, well, you're selling paint right now and you don't have any experience doing what I'm doing. Like, you realize, like, I started out as an estimator. Like, it wasn't always VP sales and marketing and all this business development and all this stuff. I was like, that comes, but like, you're trying to skip a very crucial part here. And you're saying that this person is offering you this sales job. Well, are they giving you estimators then? Because you don't have estimating experience.
Right. You don't know how to build.
They're going to teach me. And I'm like, okay. Like, you realize that's 2 to 3 years of you really grinding to learn that. And then you're going to go back to sales and you got to keep these doors open with all these people that you know and them to think that you actually know what you're talking about now. Because like, now you've changed on them. You're not selling paint that you know like the back of your hand.
Sure.
Now you're selling solve all my problems. You're a GC.
Well, it's I think that where excuse me, where a lot of people in this industry get sideways with things, I think, is overvaluing industry experience just in general.
Yeah.
Right? Whatever that means to you or whatever that means to me are two different things. But at the end of the day, somebody who's been successful, I'll just take me, selling software, doesn't necessarily mean that anything that I did selling software is going to translate over to me working in construction, right? Those are two very different things. The difference, I think, becomes in the real background of the person. Like, where did you come from? What's your level of experience leading people, being able to inspire people to success, being able to teach somebody something that they're not good at or something that you need them to be good at, right? And so I've always kind of thought this, and I think I learned this from my dad a long time ago. I can teach you anything, but what I can't teach you is drive and desire, right? And so give me the person with drive and desire over somebody who says, well, I've been in multifamily for 10 years. Yeah. I'll take the person that's got more drive and more desire and a capacity and willingness to learn something, and we can teach them anything.
Yeah.
But what you can't teach them is the get up and go and the desire to be successful and the understanding of how to build relationships and things. That's hard to teach. It's innate in certain kinds of mindsets, and those things to me always outweigh that. And I think there's been a long history, especially here over the last 4 or 5 years, I would say, of people buying into the, I have a lot of relationships kind of concept. And those relationships, unfortunately, don't necessarily translate very well in a lot of cases. So you end up paying somebody an awful lot of money, and they go, I know a lot of people. And everybody goes, cool. Well, I would like to know a lot of those people too, so I'll pay you a lot of money. And it doesn't necessarily translate to a lot of success. So if you see a lot of people that fall into that category, you'll see job changes that happen. I made this change, I celebrate it, and then it's a year later, I'm doing something else. Yeah. A year later, I'm doing something else. And, you know, you keep looking for that home to where those relationships really actually do matter.
Yeah, absolutely. What's up, Kenny Mitchell? Thank you for tuning in. And what's up, Frank? Glad to see you guys on here. There is a lot of that you see right now. So what things do you look at, and what are you trying to coach your guys up on for that exact thing? Because I know with my guys, I've tried a lot of different approaches. And it's funny because I'm interested to hear how you look at this, because it's even a battle now, because there's only a handful of people that were at Element when I was an estimator that are still with Element.
Right.
And they're not in my department or my field. So as I'm training new estimators or working with new sales guys, a lot of them didn't see what you put in to get there. You know, like, so you got to like
experience it alongside.
And the younger ones are like, I could give three shits what you did.
You're
like,
old.
Sure, you walked uphill to school both ways in the snow, and Coke was 5 cents a can. Like, you start sounding like your freaking grandparents, like yeah. Like, you're like, all right, well, how do I make this relate to them? But it's true. Like, if you're hiring on desire and ambition and that go-getter, well, cool. I can work with that, because that kid wants to do something. He wants to be somebody. Well, that is easy to work with. But how do you try to like translate all that to this newer generation and the people that you're working with in training?
Well, I'll tell you, when we were as we were building Quicket, where I've been the last 6 years, we built that from nothing, and then we had to endure COVID as we're trying to build an organization during a pandemic, which was really interesting, and then the hiring problems that created post COVID, that was created even more challenges, because now all of a sudden you just don't have your pick. I can't have 3 really qualified candidates and say, hey, you're good, and you're good. I could take any of you to have this particular role. That was completely flipped around. But I will tell you this, that during that time, we ended up hiring more people with more sales experience. I would just, for lack of a better word, call them a little bit more seasoned in age. Not necessarily experience, but we were not hiring 25-year-olds. We were hiring 35-year-olds and 45-year-olds.
And they were available then, which hadn't always been the case, too.
They were not available in the past, right? But because of COVID layoffs, you end up with a lot of people that
overqualified.
They are overqualified maybe for the job that you're hiring them to do, but they have a desire. They, I think that if you think about it like this, they have a family, they have a need, which creates a desire to be successful. Because I'm a provider, I need to provide for you and you and you. And so I can't be out of work for 6 months.
And this is new to me, because this world changed.
So I think that it led us to be able to hire some different kinds of people. Yeah. And because of, in the case of Quicket, what I'm talking about here, we had a very unique product offering, unique in the market. The adoption rate was good. People liked what we were doing. And so even when you bring these people in, you say, hey, this may be a job that is a little bit different than you're used to, but you start having rapid success with that. And it's like, look, if you just sort of follow the plan that we're putting in front of you and you start to experience that, the desire shines through. And these people, all of a sudden, they go, well, man, I'm making a lot of money doing this. This is a job I enjoy. And those kinds of people, Garrett, to me, are easier to coach.
Oh, for sure.
Right? It's much like right now is a hard time to coach people. Right now, in my mind, what we're trying to do is keep people motivated just to show up and do the things that they need to do, because there's a lot of frustration in our business right now, whether it's what you and I do or the wide variety of other service providers in our industry. It's tough. So keeping people motivated to plant the seeds that they need to do in sales, for example, that's the challenge right now, is keep them motivated, keep them on task, and be able to convince people that the truth of the matter is the investment in time you're making now will pay off in the future. But if you don't do this, I'll tell you who's doing it. Garrett's doing it. Garrett's sales team is doing it. Your competitor over there, at Preston's company, they're doing it. And if you're not doing it, you're going to be left behind when the scenario changes for the better.
Yeah.
And so I think that becomes, it's very interesting what we've gone through the last few years.
Yeah, I think that's an important thing to touch on, that I think those of you that are listening to this, wanting to know how we approach sales and marketing in our industry. And for those of you that may not know what Quick Kit is like a cabinet resurfacing company. Refacing company that Andy worked with for a while and was a big part of, and that's where we got to work together. I think for the first time,
instead of competing,
right. that's where he was for a while, and they had a really highly innovative product. It was really good, and he helped bring that to market. So that when he says Quick Kit, that's what he's referencing there. I think you're dead on in that trying to keep people motivated, because it is tough right now, and it's been tough for a while. We're all hoping.
How long do you think it's been tough in your world? Since I'm back in the world now on this side, for you, what would you say?
I would say it's been tough since COVID, and here's why. If you didn't do the things you were just kind of like glossing over but referencing, of maintaining your relationships and doing those things, then you've been in a tough place since COVID, because the interest rates haven't been good. People haven't been buying as many properties. There's not been as many DDs. There's not been as many rehabs. You're running on your core people that you have relationships with. Now, we had a once in 100-year freeze. And then we had another freeze that exposed what was bad with the first repairs that some shoddy people came into this state and did. And if you had the reputation and you had put in that work, then the last 2 years weren't that bad for you. Like, you still probably had a really good year because of some major events. And maybe you got some fires and some other things along the way that really carried you, that in any other time, if you hadn't been putting in that work, you'd be screwed. So I really think the last 4 years have shown who has put in the work and who is maintaining relationships. Because, I learned a lesson really early on. And today is her birthday. That is the only hint I will give you. Otherwise, I'm not saying anything else about who this person is. But she came up to me, and it was kind of a deal I had worked out to where, like, this was a new client that I was being introduced to, and like, hey, you could go over here and, see what you can do. I've worked with her in the past. See what you can do with this client. And, as her and I developed a relationship and built that up over the years, one of the things she told me was, she was like, the person that referred you to me, like, I did a lot of work with them back in the day.
Oh, yeah?
And she's like, but when I lost my job and stuff, they only called me and told me, like, hey, sorry to hear about that. Let me know where you land, and I'm happy to help you again. that's not being a friend.
Right.
That's not being supportive of them. That's hey, when you have dollars to give me, let me know. And that didn't go over well. But she was more than happy to like jump on and be like, hey, yeah, all right, cool. Like, let me know. And she changed jobs a couple of times. And I was like, hey, like, let me know if you need help. If you're, and even when she was looking for a job at another point in time, I told her like, hey, I know of a couple clients that really could use your help. Or if you end up over here, let me know. Maybe I can make a phone call and say, hey, you should check this resume out. Like, I've done business with her, and like, you guys are a great company. She's a good fit for you. Like, you should do this. Like, at least entertain the conversation. But that's the behind the scenes, like, you know, like really nitty gritty of maintaining relationships and building relationships. You got to care about your clients. Like, you have to want to socialize with them to a degree. You have to want to like get to know them, and you have to put in that work. I mean, I'm sure you feel the same way. Like,
it's a job in and of itself.
And like right now, why it sucks, like, do you really want to get out from behind your desk and like go make a property visit or go to this conference or go to this trade show? But you do that to, you know, continue to maintain a presence and build those relationships.
What's the old adage? I've said it, I think, since I've been at Matrix, you know, a number of times. You know, presence impacts sales.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter if it's a business development presence or a salesperson or an account manager or a PM or whatever. Presence. People see you. They don't forget about you. They think about you. You know, I went and walked a property today, and it was, you know, what came out of it was 2 new bids, but that was not why I was there.
Yeah.
But I don't think that I would have
got those
about
2
the bid opportunities had I not gone there for the reason that I was there, which wasn't necessarily positive. But 2 bid opportunities came out of it. And the funny thing is, I'm fairly certain that we'll be awarded those 2 things anyway, just because I took the time to go and be there today for something that happened before I even worked at this company. But I'm trying to build a relationship with this person because I think that long term, it's a good business and good personal relationship to have. As a person that I've known recently, I come to like, and I'm like, okay, so I would do this. And so I just think that if people do not understand how important that is, then they should not be in sales.
Yeah, right? Absolutely.
They just shouldn't.
I mean, I agree 100%. Like, I think it's going to be cool to do this with you tonight and like go back and forth on like how you look at things and how I look at things. And, you know, that's what a lot of these people ask for. And I get these DMs about like, get more multifamily people on. I was like, that's not as easy as you think it is, but like we can do that. But what is it you want to hear? And you guys, please feel free. Like, I see you guys on here watching and stuff. If you have questions about sales or tactics or approaches or multifamily, like throw them at us. Like, I know Andy's just as happy as I am to answer those for you guys, that if you guys want to throw those out there, we're more than happy to talk about it. But before we get any further, because I'll forget if I don't do this now, because we're already almost at 7 o'clock, and it feels like we've been on here for 15 minutes. Everybody wants to know what we're smoking, what we're drinking. I have no idea what you're drinking on.
This is a 4 Roses small batch.
All right, so 4 Roses small batch. I let Jacob make me an old fashioned. I think he used Woodford, so
double oaked.
Double oaked Woodford old fashioned, so you know who was sitting at the bar. And then
this is new information for me.
Yeah. And then we are both smoking the Adabay Ritos. You guys have all seen a lot of Adabays on here. You heard me talk a lot about the Black Ritos when it came out, but this is the standard, go get it wherever you can, Adabay Ritos. This is probably my favorite one to smoke in the line.
This is good.
Yeah, how's that compared to what you normally like to smoke? Because you were like, I like something lighter.
Something a little bit
But then
lighter.
you showed me a wrapper of like a Nicaraguan cigar, and I was like, that's not light, Andy.
Well, my buddy Nathan bought that for me when we were over at the other cigar place one time, and I just found it to be a real easy smoke. And and I don't know all the vernacular, right? I'm not living in the cigar world.
I'm still learning myself, right? So I understand.
So I just know that I liked that one enough to actually keep the wrapper. So thanks, Chris, for saying what it was. Because I kept it and she found it. So I actually kept it in a place where I would remember it. So if I had to go buy it,
he's not kidding. Like, he literally called his wife and he's like, you know where I keep my keys? In the left drawer, under the socks, like blah, blah, blah. There's a wrapper. Can you tell me what that is? And like, he had a picture of it like 2 minutes later. I was like, that's crazy.
I try and remember where I put stuff.
Randy, that doesn't make sense. I don't even understand it. When are you left hand?
Oh, that's a Ticket reference. I get it. That's a Gordon Keith reference.
What a nerd. You listen to the Ticket. Nobody listens to the Ticket anymore. You day one, P1. All right, Rivers.
Is that Randy Rivers?
Yeah, that's Randy Rivers in here
Randy.
chiming in.
What's up, Randy?
Welcome to the GC world. Are you ready for our class on 101 on selling stuff other than paint? That's my boy. So what do you think, like, all right, I'm going to ask you directly. What do you think was like the best piece of advice you gave Tim when Tim was really trying to make his big leap? And how did you coach him to that next level? Because there are certain plateaus and marks that I can see throughout my learning curve, throughout my career.
Yeah.
And Tim was someone I always had my eye on, watching what he was doing. And I know there's a distinct mark between like you and Tim working together, Tim doing X things that were goals of his and I mean, straight up, he said like, I'm going to do blah, 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 blah. And I was like, cool, man. Yeah, I want to too. How are you going to fucking do that? And Tim's like, I got a plan, man. I'm going to do it. And like, he did those things. And like, and he's gone back and forth between different segments of our business. And I'm like,
all over.
I don't know how you don't lose your mind, bro. Like, I've stayed in one lane the entire 16 years.
Right. Not
3 different levels of
it's okay. That. So it's interesting because of what you said, because when, for me personally, if I'm going to be a part of the leadership team, inspiring people to be successful, what's important to me is I have to know what's important to you.
Yeah.
Because I can't help you if I don't understand where your mind is at.
And where you're wanting to go.
Yeah, both personally and professionally. And so when Tim and I were, when we had started to work together, I asked him if he had any personal financial goals. And he did. And so he shared some of that with me.
Right.
And he said, I've got a time frame and I've got some things in my mind and I would like to accomplish these goals. And I said, okay, what if I told you we could do that? And he's like, man, that'd be great, right?
Yeah.
I'm paraphrasing, of course.
Yeah.
But this is, if you could help me get there, that would be great. And I said, I can help you get there. And I said, but I just need one thing from you. And I said, I need you to trust me and I need you to do things that I ask you to do. Because I'm not going to ask you to do something that I don't think will help you accomplish that for you and Casey, right? So if you want to do these things, I can help you get there. Tim was largely in project management at FTK, and it kind of turned into, I want to say maybe their second, kind of salesperson in the DFW area.
Yeah, he was like a hybrid for a while where he was like bidding, selling, and running his job.
Yeah, so he had a lot going on, and they were allowing me the opportunity to grab Tim and just say, hey, let's put Tim into full-time, sales.
Yeah.
And so so Tim and I worked real close.
Those are some of like the weird nuances that I'm sure you see too. Like Matrix is different, is FTK,
they run a different model.
is Element. Like we all do certain things a little differently. Like I have estimators that I work with to estimate my jobs, and then I sell my job, and then I turn it over to my project team, and they run the job and report to me, and I report to the client, and it all works. Like not everybody's set up like that. Some places you estimate, sell, and run your job.
Yeah, and I think that's
some combination.
Probably more in line with what we're doing at Matrix, where you have account management that's responsible for a handful of things as it relates to client management and sales and whatnot. But anyway, bottom line is that just using that as an example, because you were asking about that.
Yeah.
He had some goals. I accepted those goals as a goal for me. So my goal would be to help you reach your goal. And so, one of the things that that is important to me is time management. And I've even worked with a couple of folks at Quicket where I say, hey, you're really good at what you do, but you're really bad at managing your time. And you dedicate way too much of your time to things that don't matter. And so if you can, in order to be a good prospector, for example, you can't answer your phone during times that you've said, I'm going to dedicate to prospecting, just using that as an example. So the thought process is, if you've said that this thing is important for me to do for the next 2 hours, then you do that for the next 2 hours. You turn your email off, you turn your phone off.
We couldn't have got better time. It was like, I see the light. He's giving a lightning moment.
So that was one of the things that Tim and I worked on together, if I remember this correctly, was dedicate time to doing things that you know are going to lead you to get to your goal. You can't get to your goal, which is to sell a bunch of stuff to earn this money that you'd like to earn, for example, if you don't dedicate time to making the phone calls.
Prospecting.
Right. And so I like to think that one of the mindsets I bring to this equation is one word, and that's intentional. You have to be intentional. Everybody can pick up a shotgun and shoot it in the air and hope something falls out of the sky. But in sales, that is not the way to grow your business, right? You grow your business by saying, I would like to sell something to Garrett because Garrett is a buyer of something. So if I'm Randy and I used to sell paint and I want to sell paint to Garrett, then I have to be intentional about that. If Garrett doesn't buy paint, then calling Garrett 18 times to set a meeting doesn't do you any good.
Yeah.
So being intentional is, I think, something that Tim and I worked on a lot together, which is, we're going to set goals. We're going to focus on time management. We are going to spend our time where we get the best return on that time. And if you do that well, then you're just setting up your pipeline a little bit better, right? You're calling on the right customers that can buy the thing that you're selling, the product or the service, and you're dealing with these people for a reason. There's lots of situations where salespeople waste lots of time, and they don't do the things that are going to help them achieve that next level. And that's always, as a sales leader, the thing that frustrates me the most is watching salespeople waste their time on things that don't matter.
Yeah, and there's some people that want to come in and they think that their way's better. Or they want to reinvent the wheel and they want to do all these other things. And that's a tough road to go down with somebody as well. It's like I've told a lot of my guys, I'm not opposed to you showing me or telling me about another way or a better way to do something. And if that works for you, great. What I'm telling you is, until you get to the point where you know that works and you're sure about it, you're on your own. Because if you do it the way I showed you, I've been doing this long enough that, if you fuck up or mess up in that realm, I can help you fix it.
Right.
But if you go renegade or do it your way, there's no guarantee that I can help you fix that.
It's a good point.
I might not know. You want to implement some new training aid or program or thing that helps you do your job, cool. And if it works, great. But I don't know that program. If that goes haywire on you or you lose all your data, I can't help you fix that. So that's always a balance too. What do you think is 2 or 3 really key things that anybody in sales in the general contracting world in multifamily should really be paying close attention to?
Well, I think you got to be paying close attention to your client and what their business model is. Number one, your company is good at doing this.
Right.
So you need to understand what your customer base or your potential customer base does for a living. If your customer base does not do something that allows them to match up well with that, then they shouldn't be even someone you should be building a relationship with at that moment in time. All right.
Agreed.
Number 2, you have to really understand who your buyer is at those customers. I think that too many times people get enamored by business titles, right? They go, oh.
Speaking of, Randy, I'm glad you finished your probation over there with Tim at FTK and they finally announced that you're part of the team. Shots fired.
Oh, dear.
Go on, carry on, Andy.
That was funny.
Sorry, I had to get that one in.
It's funny because I will show you a text here in a minute that I'd sent to Randy and Tim about that.
You got him turning red and everything, man. You really said something.
Dude, that's funny.
Anyway, wherever we were. But those were 2, right? Got to understand what your customer does for a living and does it match up with the services or products that you provide. You got to understand that business titles don't always matter. And I think that the third one is that you got to have a plan for something, right? You can't just, like we said before, just shoot shotgun shells in the air. You got to have a plan. Why are we doing this? Who are we talking to? I sent one of my counterparts today an email, and I said, hey, here's information. Here's people, tier 1 people, tier 2 people, right? Let's go after tier 1 people first, tier 2 people second. But we got to go after them all. And the reason we're going after them is for this reason. So let's use this reason as a method of outreach. That may draw them out to a person that they don't know because it clearly shows that you are paying attention to what they're doing.
Yeah.
So, those are simple little things, right? Understand what your customer does. Understand that business titles are not always really indicative of who can be your real customer. Have a plan on how you're going to work out getting in front of someone that you don't already know.
This is a perfect transition for this. How do you balance, because this was taboo and could have been the death of you in our industry, I'm going to say 7 to 8 years ago. And of late, it's not as big of a threat to them. I still haven't figured out the reasoning behind this, but I'm curious for your take. If FTK days, when you were first over there, if you tried to get more contact or direct connection with owners and ownership groups,
I know where
but
you're
we're
headed with
working with a management company, that was like forbidden. Like they would straight up tell you like, you want to go above us and deal with the owners and stuff like that, or you have that, like, cool, you're not doing work for us. Like, I was told that verbatim multiple times.
You were only told that a few years ago?
No. Like, I'm saying from the times
ago.
I started out early on, that was a big thing. But you're watching a big change in that because, like, owners are bringing some of that in-house. They're going direct. Owners are more involved now.
Yep.
I mean, I think that's a sign of the financial times. But, like, owners are not just showing up for pre, middle, and post walks. Like, owners want to be involved in the whole process. Whereas the management used to kind of keep them at bay and just kind of do these things. Like, how have you approached that or looked at balancing that between, like, are you focusing on management companies or direct owner portfolio?
Well, I'll tell you this.
I mean, I think there's a balance personally, but I'm curious as to how you see that.
Well, my personal opinion is if you're not dealing with the owner, you're not dealing with the right people, period.
Yeah.
You're just not. I mean, at the end of the day, if you own the building and you're going to make the decisions for the health of your asset and the return on your investment,
yeah,
all of the things that drive the fact that we can exist in this world,
yeah,
then I should know you.
Yeah.
We should know you. So at Quicket, for example, when we built out we built a nationwide sales organizations. I think at our peak, we had 16 reps in 16 different cities around the country. The number one goal was to call on owners that operate. So MAA, right? Not a huge client. It was not a huge client for us, but that's a good example because they're at the top of everybody's list. You go look at that list, and it says they're at the top. Morgan Properties is up there, MAA is up there, Harbor Group, whatever.
Yeah.
We can all read, right?
Yeah.
So, But it's a good example, right? Is that you got an owner operator, they got lots of assets, they got lots of unit count, and they operate their own thing. And so if you were a construction guy, you and me now,
Yeah.
well, how many people do you need to know at that particular company to really actually impact the change? 3. Really? I mean, if you deal at corporate, there's 3 people.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a big company. There's 3 people. But those 3 people are going to set the tone for what all of these other people do. So from my perspective, at Quicket especially, we dealt as much as we could with owners that could drive top-down decisions and push a solution to the field. And that was one of the ways that we really scaled the company quickly, is because we got a lot of buy-in at that level, right? Because what you said is true. The owner involvement is a lot deeper. Even if they're not operating their own assets and they're using a Greystar or Willowbridge or whoever, their level of involvement and their sophistication, I think, in the last 6 or 8 years has gone way up.
Yeah,
right?
it's
gone
skyrocketed.
They're smarter. They understand how much things cost.
And they want to be involved.
And you know what? Maybe that's just a sign of the times, right? The industry's tough. Every dollar does matter.
Yeah.
And so if they are involved more, then they're directing how their investment dollars get spent in a way that they know matches whatever their investment goal is. And I think that the more that any company that is like a construction company like ours and yours, or a vendor that sells into value add repositioning and things like that, that's key, because those guys are watching the dollars. They're watching hey, Garrett, I hired you to go renovate a couple of units for me, and we put them on market, and we upped the rent by $300 a month after you guys did your work. Did we get the same kind of traction in it? Did we lease them fast? Did anybody complain about the cost for those renovated units versus a non-renovated, whatever those things are?
Yeah.
And if all of the people that came along said, I would lease that new apartment, but you're asking $300 more a month, I'd lease it for $200 more a month. Okay. Well, what do I have to do to make that $200 palatable to me as the owner? Right? And then they come to us as partners and they go, how do we sharpen the pencil on what we're doing? What things can we adjust? What maybe we change from GE appliances to Maytag. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just how do we value
getting
engineer
those conversations rolling is crucial to how well you can do that job.
Right.
I mean, and I think getting that involvement, because I think early on you're searching for any in you can get, right? You're working every angle. I mean, it could be a property manager, just trying to help you get your foot in the door with a little tiny job. And you need that too. And maintenance men become head of construction down the road.
There's
Leasing
path,
agents
right?
become managers, and they become VPs, and they become regional managers. All these things, like, it's a big industry, but there's so many small steps that, and these people all evolve, and you don't get out. You get sucked in some way, shape, or form 98% of the time, and you're kind of stuck there. So I think you have to set the right goals too, to work your way to getting in front of and having the ear of those really, those 3 people you talked about, like the decision makers, and letting them know. Because if once that starts getting passed down, because you don't want your information to be 3 steps removed. Like, I always hate when I get sent so-and-so scope, go walk this, match this scope.
You're not going to get that order.
Yeah, so the owner has told the management company what they want and how they want this to go, and then that person tells the person that needs to get the bids there, hey, this is what the owner wants. Maybe they were in that meeting, maybe they weren't. Let's get this information out. Get me 3 or 4 bids. Then it comes out. Then that person goes and talks to their preferred person. All right, here's what they're telling me they want. And you get in, and you've already got 2 or 3 steps in there that, I mean, we all know what it's like hearing a story down the chain. like, did this get relayed? The intentions? Was this value driven? Is this, like, what are did you ask the right questions to know these things?
Right.
But like, that's what I hate the most, being given a scope. I would much rather be sitting in that meeting with owner, management company, and be like, all right, this is what we have on the slate. This is what we want to do. This is our vision for this property. This is what we want to get done. All right, what are your big concerns? What are the big factors? Like, I want to be able to ask those questions.
Right.
And it's so hard to do anymore because usually you're not getting involved at that point, depending on where you fall and where your relationship lies in that chain.
Well, so I think that at the end of the day, the way that I would choose to approach it personally in a perfect world is if the information was out there, and I could know all the time who that secretive ownership group was.
Who's the head guy calling the shots?
That we could work that relationship up front to where we could have a seat at that table during that conversation. And, on the management side of this thing, it just adds another layer of complexity for those of us in sales, and we want to close, right? We need a decision. And I'm okay if the decision is no, right? We're only going to win X number of percentage of the time.
Fair enough.
So, just like for buyers of things, Garrett, I think sellers of things also have the same goal, which is to get to know as fast as we can, right? A buyer wants to get to know because if they've said, Garrett, I like what your proposal is, it's $1,000. I can buy it for $800. And you go, right, but it's $1,000. And they go, right, but I can buy it for $800. And you say no. Then they've gotten to know. All right, well then the best deal I can get from my preferred vendor was $1,000 because Garrett has said no. Just like on the other side of that equation, which is I gave you this proposal for $1,000. Are you going to buy it for $1,000? Or do you need to buy it for $800? Because I want to get to know just as fast, right? Because think about all the people that touch projects inside of companies of all kinds, right? Doesn't matter what the widget or the service is, but think about all the people that are involved in scoping out a project, whatever that means, or scoping out a solution for a product like a Quicket, door and drawer front solution or something. There's a lot of hands that touch those things. There's a lot of time and energy that goes into the follow-up on those things. And it just kind of makes me wonder all the time is how much time do we in sales waste just asking the question, yes or no? At this point, you have to admit, just like I have to admit, that sometimes you stop caring about the answer and you just want them to tell you no. So I can get along. Like, if I'm not going to get this order, then give me the feedback that I need. Hey, we liked your proposal. It looked really good, whatever your thing is.
Yeah.
But we've got an incumbent vendor. Made more sense in this case. We had that happen here the other day.
Yeah.
And you know what? The answer was correct, by the way. It's the right answer for the customer. But they also offered us an olive branch and said, however, you've impressed us here, and we have a project coming up, and you are in the driver's seat on this project. So there's an olive branch that was offered with the no, and that's okay too, right? So if we can get to know faster and get to the olive branch.
Are you stopping at no? See, like that's another great thing that, I think you're talking about here that a lot of sales guys fail at is you hear no and your world just ended.
Right, but I don't like that. I don't subscribe to that, right?
But we've all been there, though, right? Like, you've had that big project. I mean, I remember one clearly that, and I hate this because this is when I lost to
Tim.
Fucking Tim.
Randy, is Tim on here?
No, thank God. It's just Randy on here busting my balls. Yeah, Randy, they're capris. I got them from Tasha's storage. Do you like them? Oh, no.
My buddy called in and is watching your show?
No.
I give you a blowjob.
Oh, good God.
Thank God.
Randy Rivers, I fucking hate you.
Randy.
Wow.
Give you a blowjob, sir.
That's a first.
Well, we're going to drink it, sir.
Hey, go for it.
Wow.
And And I replaced the cream instead of Bailey's, put Buffalo Trace bourbon cream in there.
Oh, well, that's better. Well, that's because you're a trained professional.
Can you give me another old fashioned to follow this, please?
Oh, yeah. Will you do? Can I get another one of those?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thanks.
Good God. This has never happened on the show. Like,
I don't even know how to drink that.
I don't want. I'm setting that there for a minute. I'm not even right now. I can't with you idiots. Oh.
Who do you think it was?
I think it was Randy Rivers for sure.
I don't think
he's trying to cover up for him, but it was definitely Randy Rivers. Like, that's about, well, I don't know. There's enough people on here. Like, Randy's the only one that would, like, actually do that.
I don't know. I don't think Randy's that clever. I don't think Randy could find the phone number. Does Randy even know where we are?
Yeah, Randy knows where we are.
Dang it, Randy.
Randy and Mario did this show up here, so they.
Oh, that was. I should go back and watch that.
He's saying it's not him.
I don't think it was Randy. I'm giving him. I agree with Randy. I don't think it was him.
Brian Freese. I don't know. Brian's not commented, so I'm not going with Brian Freese. So I don't know.
I would like to go back and watch Randy and Mario talking to you. That's got to be kind of humorous.
It was a good time, man. We had fun.
I believe that.
Like, we chopped it up and we had fun. And you guys totally lost my train of thought here. I had a great question for you on that where we were going down that road, and now I'm just, you guys sent blowjob shots on fucking podcast. Oh, wow.
Randy said it wasn't him.
I know. Not that I believe him.
Randy, Randy, I'm giving you credit here. I don't think it was you. I don't think it was. Even though you gave him that crack about his post at 90 days after his probation.
I mean, I love me some Randy Rivers. That's my boomer center buddy.
Who doesn't love Randy Rivers? I don't know. Randy's a fantastic guy.
He's a good dude.
Randy was one of the first people I called this summer, and right before he went to work for FTK, he blew me off on a phone call, and then a few days later, I see this post that Randy's now at FTK, and I called him, and I was like, "Really? You couldn't tell me that on the phone the other day?"
True story. Randy is my boy. That is one of my good friends. Like, I consider Randy one of, like, my people. Like, that is one of my good friends. Like, I know I could call Randy and he would be there for me. He's a good fucking dude.
100%.
Now, Randy did the same thing to me, bro. He called me and he's like, I've got this going on. I'm making a change. I'm entertaining things till this date, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, fuck. It was the same thing like when you called me and you told me, like, I'm making a change. This is what's going on. And I'm like, fuck. Like, if I had that much say at Element, I would be like, bring them both on. Like, let's go murder the industry. Like, I want both of these badasses. Like, can we get both of them? And, like, I knew it would never work. Like, timing is everything. You both ended up at great places. So, like, I'm super happy for you. But, like, Randy wouldn't tell me either. And I'm throwing out shit. I'm like, I mean, I'm going at him. Like, I mean, he's one of my golfing buddies, like, that's a dude I hang out with outside of work a lot. And I'm like, where are you going? He's like, I'm not going to say.
He was going on vacation is where he was going.
Well, yeah, he was going on vacation, but he was accepting the offer before he went on vacation. Like, I knew all the little details, but, like, and I never in a million years would have thought he was going to FTK. And, like, but honestly, like, and man, I said this multiple times. At the point in which my deal came together to be a partner at Element, if that had not happened, I was at a point where it was like, do I go start my own thing? Like, to go do something for 2 years, get past my non-compete, go start my own thing? Or is this going to be my stop, final place, go down this road as far as the construction world's concerned? And, man, I told a lot of people, like, there were two companies that if I didn't do my own thing, there are two companies I would have gone done it with. FTK was one of them. Yeah. Matrix and Jason Kelly was the other. You know, like those are two people. And what's funny is I don't even know Mark and the other owner very well at FTK. Like I've met both of them randomly. I don't even know them very well. I know enough about them.
Thank you very much.
That I'm comfortable in those decisions. But my relationships with certain people there, I was like, if I had to do that, like they're my competitors that I actually respect. Like that's where I'd go. So fortunately for both of you, it worked out. You guys picked my two competitors that I respect and actually like would work with, you know, so it's all cool, man. Like, but yeah, I was kind of pissed at Randy too. He bullshitted me around about it for a little while. And I guessed a lot of things that were
That
like
was not
absolutely not right.
Well, then you'll appreciate this because I called Randy on Tuesday. He started on Monday. I called him on Tuesday. He was on his way into the office. And I go, really? Because I had talked to Tim. Mm-hmm. I go, really, Randy? And he's like, yeah. So we talked about it, and that was great. And then when I started at Matrix, I put the post up on LinkedIn, and I get a phone call from one Randy, and he goes, really, Andy? And I'm like, hey, man, you called me on Tuesday. This is Monday. I'm not calling you till tomorrow. Leave me alone.
Yeah.
So I had to have Randy go away until Tuesday so I could talk to him. I said, you gave me, you waited one more extra day to tell me that you went to FTK. I'm waiting one more day to when I tell you I went to Matrix.
Oh, my wife's even busting on us about these. All right. Fair enough.
Maybe it was her.
It was not my wife. If that was my wife.
How do you even drink this?
Cool. I think you're just supposed to shit.
I don't know. Doesn't taste very good.
No.
It's way too sweet.
And now I know how big of an asshole I really am because I used to bet my buddies at the bar on the ring on a string game. And if they lost, this is what I made the bartender give them.
I just don't like all that. I like the Irish cream and stuff. I don't like that stuff.
The whipped cream and all that. Ugh.
Well, whoever sent that.
Yeah. Whoever sent that, you're an asshole. I love you. Thanks for supporting the show. But let's find better ways to support the show than sending blowjob shots.
It could have been my buddy Mike if he's watching.
I don't know. Maybe Hawk 2 is a fan. I don't know. We'll see.
In the closed captions.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Well, never to be done again. But how about you just cheers with this one?
That's I definitely need something to wash down.
Wash it down with more alcohol.
Oh, dude, I don't know how much alcohol was actually in that. Like, it was all sugar and, yeah. Ugh. Nope, not again. Whoever did that, I'm going to get you back. I will find out who did that. And there will be a tough price to pay. Right. Yeah. So what do you think's maybe like a pitfall or a stepping stone that you hit in your journey in multifamily that maybe taught you something that you think is like totally invaluable now, that was a really good lesson? Because I think you have to look at the failures because you learn so much from them. And cool, you lost that job. That's kind of what we were talking about before, the damn blowjob shots. Losing that big job. Like, we've all been there. We've all gone all in on something. And like, I mean, I remember this clearly. I was out at PK on the lake when this job in Oklahoma would have been the biggest single job anybody at Element had sold at that period.
Oh, wow.
And I got in there. I mean, this was like a $6-7 million rehab.
Oh, nice.
And I was like, I'm in. I drove up there for multiple weeks. We flew up there. Like, I brought my, one of the owners at the time up there. Like, we were going all in. And I literally went absolutely all in on this job. And it was the point that I was on vacation the week they were going to make the decision. And we were out at PK. And the client told me, he's like, hey, I will call you by this time and let you know one way or the other. We've already gone through several rounds of this bidding process. And, man, I'm staying sober on the lake, sitting on the boat.
No one believes that.
Everybody watching my phone. No, I had to because I knew I was going to get this call, man. Like, absolutely. Like, everybody's giving me shit. All my friends, we're in the middle of vacation. They're partying their asses off. And I'm the, like, boring guy sitting on the back going, my phone ring. Like, I'm checking it, like, every 20 minutes. Finally, I couldn't even take anymore. At the end of the day, like, he had told me by this time I was going to call you, and he didn't. So then I texted him, and I was like, hey, man, like, you got anything? Like, I'm still trying to stay by my phone to see if I need to do anything for you because I'm on vacation. And he's like, my bad. He's like, man, I just couldn't convince the owners because this is the first time you've bid something for us, and it's this large of a project. Like, I can't get the sign off. You beat them by like $300,000. But the ownership, because they've done other things with them in the past, is willing to pay the $300,000 to not roll the dice on you because they don't know you. And I'm like, man, I was crushed. But at the same time, when I got back, I was like, all right, like, I won that. Like, I won. I put in the better bid. I had the better price. I would have hit a home run with that job. But I didn't do a good enough job of them having faith in us, even though we've never done a job. But then again, you're talking about this is not your average first job. You get to bid a $7 million rehab. That's that unique. Doesn't just happen. And you make it through like 3 rounds of bidding to where it's me and unfortunately Tim Gibbs at FTK.
What? This was a Tim job?
Yes. It was DEI.
Oh, you were never going to win that.
Yeah, I know now.
I could have told you that.
But like then I didn't know, and I was going to, and they're like, you smoked them. Like everything in your scope lines up. You guys are apples to apples, and you beat him by $300,000. Like I want to give you this job, but I cannot. Do you know that I gave
Tim a comp plan that said that every dollar he beats a competitor out by, he can keep half of it?
Well, go tell me that now.
Oh, no, I'm just kidding.
Asshole. Nah.
I'm just kidding.
I mean, but like, seriously, like everybody's been there, but you got to like take the good and the bad. Like there's a lesson there.
Well, there's a lesson in every loss, just like there's a lesson in every win, right? I mean, but I think that when you look at the losses and what a lot of people don't like to do.
Oh, Bob Duff. It is on. It was Bob Duff that did that to us.
Hi, Bob.
Oh, you're going to pay for that one, Duff.
There you go, Bob.
Yeah, I'm not even choosing you with that, you asshole. Here, I bought his lunch today. What a dick.
Thanks for the invite, Bob.
Yeah. Bob, you're going to get one for that.
We're going to see Bob on Thursday?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well.
We're going to see Bob on Thursday for sure now.
All right, Bob.
Got you, Duff. The Bob, mayor has spoken.
Bob, you might want to get a hotel room in Fort Worth Thursday night because you won't be able to get home.
Yeah. Good thing Marianne's out of town. You're going to have an excuse.
I think that you have to learn something when you lose something, right? But as a professional, and if you're going to be in sales, what's your win rate, Garrett?
No.
I mean, it's not usually totally advantageous to the salesperson, right? So we in sales have to have thick skin. You lose more than you win, right? What's the old adage about baseball, right? You see somebody, if you equate the best hitter in baseball to a salesperson, and say, hey,
how many times do you have to see that pitch to hit it out of the park?
I mean, come on, right? I mean, at the end of the day, we lose more than we win. Salespeople have to be resilient, first of all. So you can't be in sales if you can't take a punch to the face. Yeah. Take this shit personally, right? Like you learned something from that. I'll tell you what you learned. Without knowing the situation, I've never heard that story, but I'll tell you what I would think that you would learn from that is that you were never going to win that before you started. And if you would have known more about the competitive environment that you were in, you would have never even bid that project. You would have not even taken the time, in my mind, and the resources and the effort and energy.
I wouldn't have gone as far as I did with it. I wouldn't have let them drag me through like all 3 rounds of it, because like when you're in the millions of dollar range, especially when you've never done work for this client before, that doesn't make sense. That's what I learned. Like, that doesn't make sense. Like, no one's going to give somebody their first job and it be a multi-million-dollar job. It's probably not even going to be a 6-figure job. It's probably going to be a 4-figure job, you know? Like, well, you're not going to start off up here.
All right. So what do you think about this? All right. So since we both work in the GC world,
all right,
and somebody comes along and says, I've got $100,000 project,
okay,
and I've got a $10,000 project, okay?
Yep.
You and me are bidding both projects. You've worked with them. I have not.
I've worked with them. You have not.
That's
all
correct.
right.
So you've done a $100,000 project for them before.
Mm-hmm.
I have done 0 projects for them before. The $10,000 project is to paint a fence, okay?
Okay.
And the $100,000 project is to renovate 6 or 8 units, whatever, okay? It's like a real scope.
I don't renovate units, so I'm going to take the paint the fence because I'll have that done in a week and I'll get my money. And Andy, you have fun doing your turns because that's what you guys are good at Matrix.
It's to paint 3 of the buildings. How's that? Is that better?
Sure, I'll roll with it.
So you're going to paint 3 buildings, but you've already painted 3 of their buildings before. So they tell me, I can't hire you to paint the 3 buildings because I've never hired you to paint anything before. But I'm gonna hire you to fix the fence over there or whatever that is for $10,000. What's a good response to that if you're a salesperson? I'm backing you into a corner now. What do you say to that?
As you, the guy that hasn't done work with them, because I've done work with them.
As me, what do you say?
As you, I would say, okay, where are we off on the bid for painting the buildings? I'm happy to go ahead and paint this fence for you and show you what kind of work we can do and what we're capable of. But the buildings is like a walk in the park. Here are some other clients that we've painted their entire property. If you'd like to go see these paint jobs and the quality of work we do, here's some other ways you can go see this. And they would be happy to talk to you if you need verification of like our credentials or the type of work we do or the company that we are. I would highly encourage you to call any one of these clients of mine that I've been doing business with for the last 10, 16 years, whatever. But yeah, I mean, I'm happy and thank you for the opportunity. I would love to do the fence for you. And we can knock that out. I mean, that's a 3-day job, weather permitting. Like I'll go knock that out for you. But where are we misaligned at on the buildings? Because I want to know where I need to be. Was it a money thing or was it just the fact that I hadn't done work with you before? Because I want to show you that. And like, how else can I show you? Like, I'll show you what we can do on the fence. And that's the one that like project managers can fuck a sales guy on.
I'm just waiting for you to get to where I want you to go.
No, but like project managers, like, man, I tell these guys all the time, like, you realize you are what I'm selling. Like, you doing your job, loving your job, being the best at it, taking pride in it, you communicating, you're what I'm selling. Because they don't have time to manage that job. They are paying us to manage and perform with our connections that job that they need done off their plate and they don't want to deal with it. So, but it's always that $10,000 job that fucks you up because some guy's like, oh, I gotta get out of bed today. I gotta go deal with this $10,000. I'm gonna paint a white picket fence. This is the dumbest thing in the world. I mean, like, I get it, but they don't know that you and I are over here having this conversation and like, I've got 3 buildings. He's like, hey, if you slay that fence job, I'll give you the 3 buildings. But like, I need that done, and I need it done like yesterday. All right, cool, man. I will put 2 crews out there. I'll have one on each side of the fence painting it, and I'll knock it out. We'll get it done in a day and a half, and you can go on down your merry road, and then we'll go knock out your 3 buildings. But like, can I get your commitment on that? That if I get this done and save you over here, can I do your 3 buildings for you and show you what we're capable of over here? That's how I would approach it. But I mean,
Sure.
Dude, project managers, it will break you chasing these small jobs. Like, you gotta have the small jobs to do it, but it's always the small jobs because a manager or somebody within that authority level will do it, and they just want to get it done, and they want to look good in front of their bosses, their ownership, all that. Those are the jobs that will burn your ass.
Every time.
You really have to pay attention to the small jobs. You cannot neglect a small job just because, I mean, we say we do everything from the curb to the roof, but if you mess up the curb, you ain't ever doing the roof. So, I mean, you got to have a balance there.
Sure.
And you got to focus on those things. Like, you can't let that dictate things one way or the other.
Well, what I might say in that circumstance, that's actually a really good answer, right? Because you're holding one, you're not letting the one opportunity that you really want go away because of the other one, right? So you're trying to pull those 2 things together, which is a really good strategy, and that's actually a great answer.
Right. So what did Andy do?
Well, what I'm not saying I've used this a lot, but one of the thought processes in my head is, how does painting the fence for you show you what kind of a project management firm that I can be for your complex project of painting 3 buildings? Because my daughter can paint the fence. So I might have a different opinion on that, which would be something like that. Like, if you really want to learn about what my skills are as a contractor partner, then let me paint the 3 buildings. And
has that ever backfired on you?
I just told you I haven't really used it. I'm just saying that I think.
See, I don't believe that. I believe that's like one you've definitely used before, or that you've coached Tim Gibbs into using before. Because, I mean, that works in I can see that side of it too. But if you can't perform the small job well, why would I ever give? If you can't drive the BMW, why am I going to give you the keys to the Lamborghini?
I guess the perspective on that train of thought is that me being able to do your small, less important task has nothing to do with my capability to perform a complex, important task.
And I can see that, and I can get that. I mean, I wouldn't.
I'm not saying I've used it ever.
Yeah. I mean, I get it though. Like, I mean, it makes sense.
I'm just saying, when we're in the GC world and you're faced with any world, it doesn't matter, a complex task versus let's just say menial. That's the wrong word, but you get it.
I mean, anyone playing leak detective,
anyone can do that thing.
Yeah,
but not everyone can do this thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, by me doing this thing that lots of people can do, how does that make you more comfortable in knowing that I'm one of those people that very few people are of the very few that could accomplish that? Because one's not related to the other.
I get it, and I like your tweak. I'm going to use that.
No, you're not. That's
I am. I'm going to use your tweak.
That's trademark Andy Cordina.
Yep. I'm going to use your tweak. I like your tweak in the fact that, like, you're saying, like, hey, yeah, I can do that. I can do that all day. I can do that all day long. Like, I can do it in my sleep. I'll take care of that. But how is me doing that proving to you that I'm capable of this other things? Right. Like, what do I have to do to show you that I am capable and that actually we're better than FTK or Matrix or Norman or whoever you want to throw out there at doing this? Like, what is it going to take for me to show you that? And like giving them that other spin and kind of flipping it back on them so that either you get the answer to something that you may or may not be expecting, because you'll get, have you been in this situation too, where you do something like that and you really catch them off guard because they were expecting you to do. No, yeah, same for me. Like, I want to catch them. Like, let's really get down to the root of it. But like doing that, you put them back on the offensive, and they've got to like now justify to you why or how or what. And I mean, dude, I know you have as much as I have been over the years. Like, you get some really crazy answers, or maybe you don't get an answer, and that tells you everything you need to know, because there's no way they're going to fess up to like why you can't possibly do this job for them.
Well, again, one thing about what you're hearing from me is a consistent thing, which is I want to get to know as fast as I can.
Yeah.
Because I just don't want to have to waste time. If you think about like how you run your business with your salespeople and stuff, and you go, hey, we've got all these opportunities that we're working on.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, right, it gets long in the tooth at some point. It's like, well, they just won't tell me no. Right?
Randy, I just lost the fence.
Hey, Randy, we already finished it, by the way.
Yeah, Randy, Dwayne over at Matrix said he'll send you the subcontractor invoice. He's going to sub it out to you, so you didn't technically lose your first big job you bid on. Oh, silence. Love it. What do you think about all that, Biz?
You guys are more ruthless than this Jake Paul-Mike Tyson fight that's coming up on Friday.
I want to talk about that for a minute. Can we?
Let's go.
Do.
What do you want to talk about?
Segue by all means.
By the way, props to you for that segue, because I'm not a big fan of this stuff. I really don't care a lot about it. But I heard Mike Tyson on the radio the other day, and he said the following statement: "I want to hurt that man." And I thought, oh, good God, I would not want to be Jake Paul now.
And Mike,
he made Mike Tyson quit smoking weed. Because Mike said, I got to go back to that place. My kid told me he wanted to box, and I told him, no, I did all that so you don't have to. And he said, I'm giving up all the things because I'm going back to that place, and I'm going to hurt that man.
Yeah.
They showed Jake Paul fight a professional fighter about his, same age, same stature, and he lost. Imagine what's going to happen when he fights this angry 50-plus-year-old man that has literally destroyed people. Have you guys seen his training video? None of Jake Paul's stuff looks like Mike Tyson.
Jake Paul at 30-something is not as fast as 58-year-old Mike Tyson.
Nope.
If he lands one of those uppercuts, like, bye-bye, good night, Jake Paul.
Good night, Irene.
I pray that this happens, because I can. All right. As a sales guy,
Look like he combines the two.
I love what Jake Paul's been able to do, because you got to remember,
he's selling.
Between Jake Paul and Logan Paul, these dudes were like pretty much ran off like towards the end of MySpace, early on into like this stuff. Like, one of the Paul or Logan brothers, like one of them had that horrific video where they went to like China to like the suicide forest.
What?
And they like filmed somebody committing suicide in the background.
Who is that sick?
Dude, like one of the, I don't remember if it was Logan or Jake, but one of those two did that shit.
Have Randy look it up on.
And it went nuts, man. Like, these dudes were like getting blacklisted. And yet they did that. And then they've come back and built this empire. I mean, like, legit empire. Like, I personally don't like either of them as like a person, but I've not met either of them. But their game and what they're doing, they are executing at a very high level. I mean, call it what you want. Jake Paul gets all these, who else could call up and get Mike Tyson to fight them? He's fought Mayweather. He's fought all these NFL dudes. He's fought UFC dudes. And I mean, yeah, you can say they're washed up and all this shit, but like, who can get an event like that to contract, to happening, where you're selling out arenas and Netflix and all this other shit and making millions of dollars doing it? Like, dude, props to him. Like, I don't like him. I hope Mike Tyson knocks his head off, but I can't hate on him. Like,
well, not for
killing it.
Not for being able to build a brand. I mean, the dude, both of them have built
empires. A brand from like, you were blacklisted for like showing suicide videos in like this Japanese Chinese forest that's known for where people go to commit suicide. And he showed that shit on like YouTube, got his YouTube channel like destroyed. And then like 3-4 years later,
back again,
resurrected it all and did like what he's doing now. But
Americans forgive people, right? I mean, isn't our society about forgiveness?
Sometimes, but it doesn't always happen.
Well, I mean, he didn't kill somebody. Those people killed themselves, right?
I mean, I get it, but like, that's still just crazy.
Well, either way.
All right, so it was Logan.
Will be watching.
It was Logan.
Was it Logan?
Thank you, Jonathan.
Either way, Tyson looks insane.
He does.
And he looks about as motivated as an individual to a particular task that you will ever see.
I think, what was the fight? Was it Mayweather and Roy Jones, or who it was no. Your guy, UFC. No, McGregor and Mayweather. That was WWE to me. That was, and that's what everybody was scared this is going to be, because they all talked all randy and talked smack, and they went in there. I can't see Mike Tyson going there on some WWE half-cocked anything.
No, I mean, Mike Tyson's had his things, but McGregor and Mayweather, all right, would you say McGregor is like the greatest striker in UFC history? I mean, I don't think so.
No, there's a bunch of Silvas.
He's not the greatest striker. He's not the greatest jiu-jitsu. He's not the greatest grappler. I mean, he's highly accommodated in all of these things, and he's really good at it. What he's better at is selling himself and marketing himself.
True.
And that's what he's done throughout his career. And he had a hell of a run there for a while till he like fucked up his leg. You can find other guys in these categories that like may even be better than him. And maybe they weren't as good at marketing themselves. I mean, like, look at the Diaz brothers. I mean, they got good at marketing themselves, I think, a little too late in their career. I mean, you look at, what's his name? St. Pierre.
Right.
I mean, he was dominant for years. Chuck Liddell.
I always liked him.
I mean,
I don't follow this as much as you do.
I mean, you can find these guys, but I mean, like, Jake Paul coming in here and like, yeah, I mean, all right, cool. You get a he creates the role, but I mean, Mayweather kind of did that in a lot of his boxing career. I mean, what's the most criticism Mayweather gets? He didn't like take a lot of fights when like people were like, you need to do this. No, Mayweather did shit on his terms and he laid this shit out. And you know what? Like, he did his thing, man. Like, you can't really argue with it. Like, did he always fight Manny Pacquiao at his best? Or De La Hoya? Or, you know, like a lot of these dudes, like, I would love to have seen like a De La Hoya Mayweather fight when both of them were in their prime.
Yeah, then that's classic.
I mean, like, then you get Muhammad Ali, you know,
George
Foreman type fight there, but you can't.
As long as this thing is free with my Netflix subscription, I'm cool. And I did
Is
some
it
research.
Saturday? Is it this weekend?
It's Friday.
Friday.
It's Friday. So as long as you have Netflix, you good.
Is it really? Like, you don't have to pay anything extra on
I
Netflix?
double,
don't think
triple
so.
check.
No, I
As
think-
long as
no,
you
I
got
think you're
Netflix.
right.
And that's part of the ploy when they do these things to get more subscribers to come on and things like that. So, yeah, as long as you got it, you good.
Well, because
Wow,
you think
Randy,
about
that's
it,
the gayest thing I think you've ever seen or said, and I'm totally pinning that to our golf group. Love you, boys. Got to go watch Housewives with Tasha. Whew. Are you wearing one of the Tim Gibbs custom wife beaters? I don't know if we can actually call them that anymore, but you know what I'm talking about, bro.
It's your podcast. You can do whatever you
Yeah.
want.
My man's going to go watch okay.
In his wife beater.
I mean, I can't really talk bad about him because
I
unfortunately,
didn't even get a response, dude. Last week, I was at this Yngwie Malmsteen concert in Deep Ellum, and there was a dude that I swear to God could have been Tim Gibbs' like big brother. He had the faux hawk like he had back in the day, like the very defined faux hawk. And I swear to God, from side profile, it looked like his twin. I sent it to Tim and Randy in our little group chat.
Yeah.
No response.
Nothing?
No response. Nothing. He was hating.
well.
He was hating.
well, we've talked about multifamily, we've talked about boxing, and we've had a lot of love between you and your compadres here online tonight.
Yeah, man. And you know what? I kind of want to follow up on that. I think this is a good point to say this. Everybody's kind of been alone in their own room or their head. And you know what? Like, no matter who you are, what you are, shit happens in life. And there's going to be bad things. And this is a really tough time of year for people. And I just want to, like, acknowledge this in the moment that, you know, you're going to go through tough times. And usually, if you can see the lesson in those tough times, that'll get you to tomorrow. And if you're struggling with any of that, if my number is in your phone and you're struggling with any of that, because this is I didn't realize how tough of a time of year this was for a lot of people until talking to one of my friends. I don't want to see another post or get another call about a friend of mine that's taken their own lives or somebody that I really know. So if you are one of those people that are going through a tough time and you need to talk to somebody, please do. I mean, the holidays and everything that this brings, the stress of providing gifts and entertaining family and doing everything that you need to do apparently is harder for some than others. And I just want to put that out there. Like, so if you know me personally or you want to hit me up in my DMs or whatever, if you're going through a hard time and you just need somebody to talk to, man, I'm open. But I don't want to see any more of that, man. Like, you are bigger than the moment. Like, things are going to get better. Like, it can't be the end all be all. So, anyways.
Thanks for having me, brother.
Yeah,
been good.
dude. Like, I'm glad we finally got to sit down and do this. It's been a long time coming. Yeah, even with Bob Duff's bullshit blowjob shots. Like, Bob, I don't know how I'm going to make you pay for that, but, like,
Thursday,
like, game on, man. But you guys, I really appreciate you guys all jumping in here. So I'm going to make a quick little announcement before we make Andy go through the gauntlet on our final two things that we wrap every show up with. So if you guys are paying attention and you're free and available, we're not just doing one show this week. We're doing two shows. I have a very special guest flying in from Malta. And on Friday afternoon, we're going to do a live show from 3 to 5. Biz is out of town. He's got some stuff to deal with. So next week, if you miss the live on Friday, Thursday, the live show will be up and you guys can watch it. But if you guys do not know who Derek Rowe is, and I know you don't because I didn't know who Derek Rowe was until a few weeks ago, you guys want to check this dude out. I mean, Derek, I don't know how else to say this. He needs the BMF belt. He's a badass motherfucker. And he's a guy that's gone through a lot. A lot of you will relate to him. And he's got an incredible story. Y'all are going to love his accent. Like the women that actually follow this show, like, I mean, I'm like playing the messages for my wife or like listen to myself. I'm like, this dude has the coolest accent.
You should
in
have
the
him
world.
do your voicemail on your phone.
Yeah, I mean, I might have to. Like, I'm like broing out on him over here, but like, it's one of those that you're just like, what did he say? And then you're like, listen to it, that was so cool. I wish it sounded that cool when I said something as common as that. But yeah, so we got that one coming for you guys Friday. I hope you guys enjoyed this show. But Andy, so we ask everybody this at the end of the show.
Okay.
If you got to leave your children with one piece of advice, what would that piece of advice be?
Boy, that's a good one. Damn. You make me think.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to throw one back at you now.
Boy, that's a God dang it, man. That's good. If I had to leave my children with one piece of advice, you know what? I'm going to say this, and this may sound dumb to people.
No, go for it.
Never take yourself too seriously. You know, I'm a little bit of a sarcastic person, and
that's why we get along.
And I think that I think that I grew up with parents that were not so humorous, and you know, things like that. And I would say, man, don't take yourself too seriously. Right? It's not always about you. It's not always the thing. Don't take it too seriously, man. There's always something a little bit different that you can think of, and just don't take it too seriously, man. Just be able to put a smile on your face. Take a bad time. I mean, we always used to do this with our children, right? Turn that frown upside down. I'm gonna say that. Don't take yourself too seriously.
Yeah, man.
Can't live your life with a frown on your face.
Yeah, you got to be yourself. I think that's the biggest thing. But be yourself. Have fun. Like, none of us know if we're gonna wake up tomorrow. I mean, like, it's really that simple. Like, you don't. So, if you knew you were not gonna wake up tomorrow, what would you do right now?
Well, I think there's a song out there that says if today was your last day or something.
Yeah, I mean, there's like songs, that, there's quotes, there's
right.
all this shit. Bob Duff, feel free to chime in, asshole. No, all right, last one. So, Common Sense Podcast. If there's something I haven't asked you or something that like maybe you've thought of that we didn't get to dive into, now's your chance just to give us Andy's 2 cents. I mean,
my 2 cents.
Your 2 cents, man. It could be. I mean, you go off whatever deep end you want.
Well, you know, since we spent a lot of time talking about like our professional lives, I would say this to, if I don't know who your viewership is or whatever, but I would say this. My 2 cents is right now to the people that are watching your show, if they're in our business or in other businesses, is have a plan, follow your plan, measure your results, celebrate your successes, and learn from your losses. I mean, we're professionals. We sell stuff for a living, right? That's what we all do. And I think that, you know, since we spent a lot of time talking about that, then I'll leave you with that. Do that.
And it's okay to pivot. Like, I think a lot of people get caught up on changing direction or learning from the mistake. Like, it's okay to pivot. It's just like I said earlier today. I could tell you, you know, I got this. You guys, I'm going to share this link hopefully later today. It's supposed to be out today. As soon as he sends me the link, tells me it's good to go. I did a podcast with Ace on Friday last week, and we dove into a lot of stuff. One of the questions, big things that came up, and I wanted to dive into this with you, and we really didn't get the chance, but coaching, mentoring, paying for coaches, going to educational seminars, paying to be a part of that stuff. Have you done a lot of that?
I have. I am a professional coach, and I will tell you that
they're worth every penny.
Get the right one, they're worth every penny. They're not cheap.
Yeah. Same as a therapist.
It's an investment in your future.
Yeah.
Man.
You're investing in yourself. But I could also give you 100 fucking books that I could tell you if you read these books and applied the lessons learned in them, that it would change your life. It might help you find your purpose. It might help you find your passion. It might help you manage your time better. I do all that. Anybody can. You could pay all this money to go do that stuff. But if you don't actually take action and you're only absorbing information or being an, I'll say, semi-active participant, right, you're never going to go anywhere. Like, you have to do the things that they're telling you to do. You have to take action. You can't just talk about it. You can't just read about it. You have to be about it. Whatever it is you decide to subscribe to or follow or be coached on, you actually have to be coachable and you actually have to do the things. So, you know, we could sit up here and tell you everything you could do in sales to be successful in the path that we have chosen. But if you don't actually do any of these things,
doesn't matter.
I mean, it doesn't matter. I mean, we could sit here and argue with this good old brick wall. It doesn't matter.
I thought that was wallpaper.
Oh, no.
No, that's real.
Everybody. Yeah, you got too many estimators working for you. I need to talk to Jason. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this show. Andy, dude, thank you, brother.
Absolutely,
I'm glad we finally got to sit down and do this.
My pleasure.
It was fun chopping it up with you. You guys, I'm telling you, Friday, 3 to 5, Derek Rowe. If you don't know who he is, go look him up on Instagram. It's the sexy, ripped jack dude from Malta. He's a fitness coach. He's a personal life coach. He does all kinds of shit. I'm actually going to be seeing him at my boy Ryan Stuman's event at Apex on Saturday. You guys, if you're not involved in that, you should check it out. If you want to get better and level up in certain areas of your life, highly recommend it. So, you guys, tune in Friday. Got a special one for you. And the following week, we're going to be out. But that Thursday, you can watch it again. Peace. And... no, we ain't cut shit. Come on in here, you fucker. Just so y'all know, there's your Bob Duff. Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Oh my God, this is terrible, Bob.
Yeah. Good old Bob.
Stay there.
All right, peace. See y'all next week.